did have somebody point out one announcement to make, and this is quite a ways away, but if you are interested, next April, so April 8th, 2024, is going to be, there's going to be a full solar eclipse, and Memphis is going to be in the 95th percentile, or the 95% path. So the full solar eclipse path is going to cover most of Arkansas, the Missouri Boot Hill, and kind of go over that way. And so we're very, very, very close to that full solar eclipse path. So if you're interested in that, you could probably look up April 2024 solar eclipse and see the actual path and information and everything. So I thought that was pretty cool, and thank you, Rick, for sharing that as well.
Day in the park.
Day in the park. I don't know enough.
October the 8th and 9th, I believe. Anyway, it's going to be in Olive Branch City Park.
Day in the park is Olive Branch City Park. They had it in 2018, and it was a big success. The Mississippi section manager promotes it each year and has a club or clubs that go together around the state of Mississippi to do it. And it should be an it's almost like a ham fest. And they say they're going to have free food, so probably everybody will come down. It is October 14th from 9 to 3. And there were a couple of flyers up. But it's something that you might want, and there will be flea market type activity going on.
Thank you, Joe. Any other announcements that we've got? All right, well, I'm going to hand the mic over to John for our program.
Uh-oh, here we go. Good evening. Good to see everybody out here tonight. And needless to say, we're going to be talking about Hamfest, Huntsville Hamfest to be more specific. How many people, show of hands, are going on the bus to Hamfest? Now let's get a show of hands of people that aren't going on the bus but are going to the Hamfest. I remember running into you guys there last year. So just about, the vast majority of people here tonight will be going. So
if they promise to behave, we'll let them go on the bus next year.
Got it. Well, I heard the only reason they're not going on the bus is because we don't have beer on the bus.
What?
Vino. Okay, that's what it was. Okay, now I got you. All right. So anyway, Huntsville Hamfest last year was my first year going. I wish I was going this year. For those, how many are going for the first time this year? Okay. All right. There you go. There you go.
Hey, just because you guys can't remember going last time.
But just real quick, Huntsville Hamfest is a lot of fun, and we're gonna spend some time going through some of the things that are there, especially on the Saturday while the bus is there. And so we'll start off. We got a map here of the facility. For those of you that are riding the bus, you're going to be coming in right back in this area here. The bus is literally parked back here. So when you walk in, of course, Huntsville has Gigaparts. So Gigaparts will have a big display up here. And you'll see lines of people waiting to go in there. I was a little disappointed, and don't want to take anything away from the Hamfest, but Gigaparts, I went last year wanting to buy an ID52A, and I kept holding off on buying one because I thought, just sure as fire, they would have a spectacular deal on one for the Hamfest. And their pricing, they didn't have any sales. It was pretty much, you go there, and it is what it is.
You got a free attaboy.
Yeah, there you go. They did have some other cool stuff there that I'll talk about in a minute, but basically...
But John, speaking of, well, I was going to say, are they still doing it too, where they don't have a lot of inventory there, but they got a store close by?
Right,
so if you
yeah.
are wanting to leave with something, don't wait until the last minute.
Right, yeah, I was going to get into that.
Okay. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. So yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute, but over here's your parts on the air. You got your W5KB. ICOM is still in the same exact spot that it was last year, from what I remember. But these tables right up in here are most of your common vendors, your MFJ, Yaesu, Ham Radio Outlet. I see Tar Heel Designs, Elecraft up there. So then these back here, and do we have a table number yet? Do we know?
119, 120,
119 and 120.
off to the left, up towards the top. I think.
Well, that says like 57, 58. That's where we were last year.
No, I was late in getting the table.
Okay. Block E. So our table would be back in this section here, 119, 120, right there. So, but this is more of a, this area here is more like a flea market style. And I knew I was kind of thrown a little bit in that there were some places that were selling like women's jewelry or arts and crafts and stuff like that. So I'm like, wait, I thought this was Hamfest, but I guess if I were one of my wife to go with me, then that would be a selling point for her. So concession stands are taking credit cards only, no cash accepted. They're usually very, very busy. And then we discovered a secret last year, and that is that back by the loading dock where the bus is, there's some restrooms, and across from the restrooms was a Coca-Cola vending machine. And I can't remember if there was a candy bar machine there or not either, but I do remember the Coke machine and hitting that up a couple of times. So one thing that I did not get to do last year that I regretted not doing was attending some of the forums. And in preparing this presentation and looking through some of the subject material on these forums, there's a wealth of information to be learned, and that's probably one of the most valuable aspects of going to the Hamfest. So the first one, and these are all the Saturday forums. Is anybody staying through Sunday? Okay, well, you won't need this form that I saw on Sunday, but on Sunday they're actually having a beginning soldering class, which is cool though. I mean, you know, not everybody knows how to do that, so I think it's great that they do that. But usingrepeaterbook.com, Charles F. Adams Jr., KV4VT, and that's 10 a.m. in room 1. And now it's 18th year of operation. Repeaterbook.com is amateur radio's most comprehensive worldwide free online repeater directory. As the preeminent global gold standard for ham radio repeater information, Repeaterbook.com can help hams with programmable radios and better leverage and enjoy their technology and investments. So they're going to take a closer hands-on look at how to best utilize that. So at the same time, in room 2, Alabama Repeater Council, there was no write-up about what this forum's about, and I would suspect that it is all information specific to the Alabama section. In the Redstone room at 10 is the APRS forum with Tim Cunningham in 8DEU. And learn the basics of the automated packet radio system. Better known as APRS, they'll discuss various hardware and software configurations and learn how it is integrated into automatic weather reporting. So anybody looking to learn more about APRS, that really looks like a good one to go to. Then one of the more popular ones, I think anyway, can't say because I haven't been to any of the forums, but it's the lightning research in Huntsville.
It is. Great form. Very technical, but it's give them
Right.
it's a great form.
He
Awesome.
is a PhD at Redstone Arsenal.
Yeah, Monty Bateman, PhD, WB5RZX. And again, that's at 10 a.m. So hopefully the bus is running on time. These would be the first ones you'd be able to get to when you get there. But that's in Big Spring D.
John, one thing, I went several years ago, and one of the things he was talking about was MFJ's lightning arrestor. And and he was singing the praises of it. And after the seminar, I went to MFJ and talked to Richard and said, did you know he was talking about your lightning arrestor. He said it's one of the better ones. So, and it's not that expensive.
So there you go. You go to this seminar, and then you can go right out on the floor and buy one. So there's the write-up on that. Now, how many people know Glenn Papil? He's spoken at our club. We should all know him. He's got a new book out apparently, but he's got one called Building Projects with Microcontrollers, 10 a.m. in the Madison Room. And basically join ARRL author Glenn Papil, KW5GP, in an all-new presentation as he demonstrates how to build projects with the Arduino and other microcontrollers. Learn just how easy it is to create your own feature-rich microcontroller-based projects for your home and your ham shack. And I am sure that is a good one. I think he also did this same forum at Dayton. I thought I read that somewhere.
Probably so.
Yeah. So he's spoken at our club, what was it, 2 or 3 years ago? Maybe longer. So maybe I need to call him and get him to come back. So Alacraft update and Q&A. Eric Swartz, WA6HHQ, and this is now at 11 in room 1. And he's Alacraft's Chief Operating Officer and a co-designer of their K4, K3S, K2, and other products. And then electric vehicle ham radio operations. Rob Suggs, PhD, NN4NT. That's in room 2 at 11. And we've all encountered ignition noise and alternator whine in internal combustion vehicles. But what is the RF environment like in an electric vehicle? And they'll discuss the basics of EV technology and show some spectrum analyzer and transceiver measurements for HF, VHF, and UHF. So from a Hyundai Ioniq 5. So anybody thinking about going the EV route, this might be the forum for you.
I can already tell you the answer to that question. It makes some pretty horrendous noise.
So, well, maybe he'll show you how to correct that noise.
Yeah, you change back to one of those dyno burning.
Gotcha. So AMSAT forum, Tim Cunningham, NADEU. I saw his name on a previous forum. That's at 11 a.m. in the Redstone room. And Rick, do you know him, Tim Cunningham? Okay, figured you might. So. Learn what is new in the world of amateur radio satellites and how we deal with constantly moving satellites and the effects of Doppler shift in real time. Learn how to determine if a satellite is actively working and understand how easy it can be to operate on the amateur radio. Lightning research in Huntsville. We already covered that one, but it's so popular that they have 2 of them. So that's again at 11. And then send an amateur radio balloon around the world. Bill Brown, WB8ELK, and that's at 11 in the Madison room.
Show us how to get shot
That was
down by a
put
jet.
a Chinese symbol. Goes first.
Bill's one of the knowledgeable experts in balloon-launched ham radio. This forum will discuss how Bill accomplishes taking amateur radio to new heights on high-altitude balloons. And if memory serves, didn't we assist as a club in the recovery of a balloon recently? So
did the Air Force.
Mars, that's 12 p.m. room 1. The ARRL Members Forum, Mickey Baker, N4MB, and I believe you went to that one last year, and they basically will do a discussion about everything going on with the ARRL. And I remember last year they were really trying to drive membership and trying to think of ways to attract more members, so you'll be able to find out.
So they came up with raised prices, I guess. That was super.
Yeah, they couldn't get more members, so the other way to get there, So Two Hearts, One Hobby, this kind of look cute. I'm not going to try to pronounce their last names, Ki4ASK and Ki4HHI. Okay. Married ham radio operators Joe and Mary Catherine candidly talk about what it's like to experience the hobby as a couple. The fun, the compromises, the challenges, and the rewards. Talk how to share the hobby with your non-licensed partner. And join us for this fun forum. Women, this forum is especially for you whether you're a ham or not. Beginning Morse code, Keith Ford, K4KEF, that's at noon in the Big Spring D. So anybody interested in learning CW, we had a program on it earlier in the year, and I'll be doing that here as well.
That's only digital code I want to learn.
What was that?
That's only digital mode I want to learn.
I got you. So,
Somebody's a hater.
the Museum of Information Explosion, Bob DiPierre, K8KI, and that's at noon in the Madison Room. And Signals is a communication technology museum located a mile north of the BBC. I do not know what the BBC is.
Brian Center.
Oh, okay. Duh.
That's where they're having the
Vacation.
Okay. So it's a hands-on immersive experience where guests can explore, interact, and learn about communication technologies throughout history. Displays include many working radios from the Spark era through SDRs, including an operational ham Radio Shack, and there are working regeneratives, tuned RF, super heterodynes, and even a few from Clarence Tuska, co-founder of the ARRLs. Alabama section radio sport, there wasn't a write-up on this one either. RF amplifiers, Larry Savage, WA4CAX, that's 1 p.m. in the Redstone Room. And this will provide detailed information and a critique of the currently available commercial amplifiers. And he will also provide some basic theory of LDMOS RF amplifiers, and he will have hardware components of amplifiers that he has designed and built for the forum. Powering your phone from the sun. Anybody that knows me, this looks like a good one that I would be interested in. John M1OLO will answer your questions that you have about using solar power for POTA, SOTA, or any other OTA adventure. And they'll include power requirement calculations, picking a panel, and choosing the right controller. So anyone looking to get into solar, that would be a good forum to go to. And then locating power line noise. Mike Rosar, N4CNZ, that's 1 p.m. in the Madison Room. And again, a lot of these look really interesting. Many of our stations have suffered the effects of power line noise. Join Mike as he recounts his experiences researching, building, and using homebrew antennas to locate RF power line noise at 2 amateur QTHs. So looks like that will be some good information to learn if you don't already know that. Integrating HF radio stations with Flex Radio, Power Genius XL amp. Michael Walker, VA3MW, that's at 2 p.m. in room 1. So presentation on effortlessly harnessing the capabilities of the Flex Radio. Does anybody use Flex Radio? I don't either. Alabama section Aries, again, probably no description needed and doesn't really apply to anyone here. Operating procedures for enhancing your microwave contest score. Ben Lowe, K4QF, and that's at 2 p.m. in the Redstone Room. And this one was kind of interesting because in the write-up he talks about how to get other stations to log you. You have to assure that they're going to log you. So for microwave contests, typical operation might be to go roving to a hilltop and working 3 or 4 other stations. And anyway, several topics regarding contesting, mostly dealing as it pertains to microwave. Georgia Parks on the Air, Claude Ray, AC4SH, that's in the Big Spring D room at 2. And doubt that that would apply to very many in here, but it might be interesting to go to. So. What physicists don't know about electromagnetics? Hans Schantz, PhD, KC5 BLD, 2 p.m. in the Madison Room. And there's the write-up on that.
A lot about what they don't know.
Good point. So ARDC grants and 44net technology for amateur radio community, John Kemper, KA6MVY, 3 p.m., room 1. This will introduce the ARDC Foundation and provide an overview of 2 key areas, first being the grant-giving resources, with some details about what's applicable and how to apply, and then they will overview the IPv4 IP address resources available to the ham community for various projects. Getting in the DX stations log, that's the one I was thinking of earlier. J Slough, K4ZLE. Jay is an active DXer from both ends of the pileup, including the CYO's DXpedition, and will describe how to get in the DX stations log. Tips from this forum will help you work the all-time new ones and add to your band county count. Current lunar missions and the radio science. Heidi Haviland, PhD, KK6, SZW, that's 3 p.m. in the Redstone Room, and they'll discuss upcoming lunar missions, including NASA's Commercial Lunar Payload Services, CLPS, Artemis, and other space agencies. And then they'll highlight the radio science instruments flying to the lunar surface.
That might be an interesting, Artemis is the
Yeah.
one's going to the moon.
Exactly.
People. That'd be kind of cool to be.
I got,
Not moon or moon, but
I want to volunteer some folks.
So, last one here is POTA best practices. Mike Turner, W4OPS. We just had a presentation on POTA a few months ago, but might get a different perspective here, might learn a few things to help with Parks on the Air. So, talks about go boxes, antennas, batteries, and much more. So tips for kit building success. Joe Eisenberg, K0NEB, and that's 3 p.m. in the Madison Room. And we'll look at the best tools and techniques to help beginners through experienced builders have the best chance of success when building a kit. He'll go over low-cost tools and the correct type of solder to use, how to sort and identify your parts, and we'll touch on things he has found. All right, so that's it for the forums. Going to talk briefly about Gigaparts, mainly because they're the largest vendor that's there. They have a store based in Huntsville, so they don't carry any stock on hand. If you need to get something from Gigaparts, make sure you get it, I'd say at least a couple hours before the bus is scheduled to leave. So I wouldn't get anything that they have to courier anyway after 2 o'clock. So just to be safe. It usually takes them about an hour, but you never know. And so that threw me for a loop last year, because I remember thinking that I was going to be able to just go in and pick up what I ever want and take it back to the bus. And
Well, they got a bunch of books and other stuff sitting there, right?
they do. They had some. They had like some Pelican cases
Yeah,
last year,
3D
and
printers.
yeah, they had some. Most of it was non-ham related.
Right.
Now, I will tell you though, they have one of the things that I discovered and a few others. They have mystery boxes, and you could either pay $25, $50, or $100 for a box, and you didn't know what was in there. I mean, you had absolutely no clue what was in the box. And I think I bought the $50 one, and it had well more than $50 worth of stuff. I can't say that I used everything in it. Got a really cool laser pointer that the dogs love. I mean, that thing, you can bounce it off of a cloud. That thing was, I've never seen a laser printer or laser pointer that bright. Yeah. I think I got a if I remember right, some sort of backpack was in it, and it's just, I think there was some USB cables and some adapters in it, but nothing ham radio related. It was all just stuff. So, but you know, it was kind of fun, and yeah. The grand prize this year, a Yaesu FT 710 AESS, and that drawing's at 4 o'clock. So, listen to y'all. So that's what you got a shot at winning. So, all right, that's all I have for Huntsville. Does anybody have any questions, any comments, anything they want to add?
I got one
Sure.
question. Don't they have a booth towards the back of the AmFest that will check your radio or check a radio?
They have a test bed.
Test bed.
Yeah, they have a test bed.
Okay. And then I also meant to look up the tune-in or the talk-in frequency. Be on the lookout for that. You can take your HD and if you need something, you can reach them. But I can't remember what the frequency was for that.
And I will say too, if anybody's going and they have like a grandkid or a kid that's pretty young, they've got a youth section where the youth can even do little activities and build stuff or play with robots or whatever. And so, I mean, I know Jeff probably knows about that because I know his kids are going. But if you're going and you've got some younger kids that you'd like to kind of get introduced to it, that may be a fun way to
there's the
get them
youth.
interested to it.
The youth section.
In it.
So yeah, it looks like it's 146.94 with a negative offset, PL tone of 100, and 145.33 with a negative offset, a PL tone of 100. So if you wanted to do the talk-in.
Now, a lot of not a lot, but quite a few of the forums are not at that location, but the attached embassy suites. So,
Right.
you know, if be ready for that. It's a bit of a hike. You know, it's all indoors, but
Yeah, because I saw where room 1 was here and room 2's here.
and all the others are meeting
This
rooms.
is your concessions.
So right there where it says lobby, there's some stairs or an elevator to go
Right.
to a breezeway that connects that facility with them. I'm just saying that because first I thought, where the heck? You know, I walked all over trying to find it, and it's in a different building that's attached.
Right.
Especially if you're trying to hit one of the first ones, you kind of hit the ground running.
Right. So, any questions? All right. So, as promised, we're going to have a repeater discussion. Basically, just wanted to talk about what repeaters we have available, and I'm going to pick on Mary Jean a minute too, because you brought up the Bluff City Blues ride, and in years past we've used the 8.2. Do we have an update on that, Barry?
There was a good write-up in Sparks about what's going on with the repeater. If y'all read that, I thought it was really good.
Okay. Anyway, the repeater is, the 8.2 repeater is turned on right now. It's not 100% what we're used to in the past, but, and we're still working on that. Rick are doing a lot to help me out on that. And, I do have tower climbers coming in within a couple of weeks. I don't have the exact date yet. I'm gonna call him tomorrow and make sure he hadn't forgotten me. But we're gonna be on their schedule as for the fact that they are gonna be in this area in a couple of weeks, and they're gonna tack this job onto it. It's gonna save us $1,000. So I said, I'll take it.
Absolutely.
But anyway, we're still working on it. The plan is when the tower climbers get here, we're planning on taking this antenna up 200 more feet. Because we have a feed line already there that we had them check out last time, and it comes out into our room. And it's empty, nothing's on it. There is an antenna on it at the 700-foot level, but it's obviously not being used. And we're gonna take it off and put ours, we're gonna try to haul ours up there to it. And, you know.
Cross your fingers.
Are you guys planning on putting another antenna on to the other one just as a backup or something in case it doesn't work out?
The antenna is $1,400, and I just can't see us buying a spare $1,400.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago.
And it's just a couple of years old.
Did we buy the antenna that we're talking about moving up?
Yes,
We bought it after we had the initial problem with 8.2 and the static, right?
Correct.
So we know that the antenna we're moving that we bought is new and not part of the problem.
Well,
Right.
unless lightning is hit it.
yeah,
Well,
lightning
yeah.
would be the true thing, and, no, it's been up there 2 years. It was bought brand new, like I said, $1,400 worth, so, and it's a commercial grade antenna,
Sinclair.
yes.
If I win the lottery tomorrow, I'll buy you an antenna.
Well, with the lottery, I'll buy you an hour.
That's fine, all right, come on. Across the law.
All right, also, in the meantime, we were doing some checking, the other day, and we have a, heliax that comes out of the repeater and goes up about 60 feet, runs about 60 feet, then it ties into our, and that's about a 1 inch.
1.5
Not, I'm talking about the one, it's half inch that's coming out of the repeater and going up, and then it joins into 1 5/8 hard line or whatever, and goes all the way on up. And that run right there is, what do we figure?
700 feet through the building.
Up to the 500-foot level, yeah. Okay, it's already seven.
Price is $14 a foot.
Yeah.
$150 per connector.
Right. But anyway, and, so that means this run's gonna be 900 feet. But it's already there, so there is an antenna on it. I don't know what kind it is. It's weird looking. It's even got a box associated with it. And we're gonna take all that stuff out and, or just disconnect it. And we're gonna take over that. And, let's see. Oh, what I was saying, the half inch that goes up to it, we replaced that with just a regular coax the other day for troubleshooting purposes. We made a big improvement.
Okay.
So there is something wrong with that hard line or that heliax going up to the, coming out of the room.
I've noticed that when it rains, for the next 2 days, you can hardly hear any audio for the static. But on the third day, after it's been dry for 3 days, it clears right up and it's like a new repeater. Then the rain comes through and it goes through that same
I have
cycle.
tried my best to correlate that with rain, but I can't.
Oh, well,
I mean,
Linda and I have been listening to the nets and the communications on 443, 700 and 82, and it's the same way. When the rain, now if rain comes through and it doesn't hit Brunswick Road, that area,
you're good.
it's good. But if rain comes through and hits that tower, you can figure on about 3 days of static in communication.
Okay, well, anyway, so it looks like all of the, we're gonna be going on different
Cool.
cable all the way up. The
Good.
half inch and the inch and 5/8, all the way up. And, it's been there a while. I don't have any reason to suspect it because this stuff doesn't just go ahead normally. But, so that's the plan right now, and, I'll have an update hopefully in a couple of weeks.
Sounds good. All right.
Thank you. That's really, really encouraging. So the gist of it is tower climbers in a couple of weeks, and
200 more feet?
200 more feet.
900 feet.
Anyone that's been to Joe's class knows that the secret on tennis is elevation, elevation, elevation. So we're going to gain quite a bit. So
It's not reliable.
okay, getting word that the 443-700 isn't reliable. Is that?
We had some geomagnetic stuff this last few days that could be affecting it.
Okay. So, what other repeaters do we have? We have the 8.5 in the area, the 625.
625 is German.
Okay.
We've got a couple of DMR repeaters and a D-Star repeater.
Right.
On UHF.
So,
W4 LED.
and is the 625 the only one in the area that's linked to anything?
Yes.
No.
No.
8 and
Oh.
is downtown
Still
to,
about hours.
or 8.5 is linked to,
Yeah.
uh,
444,
First Horizon,
Okay.
444, 775.
444-775.
Yeah,
Okay.
That was done.
And Olive Branch, 147-255 is linked to their 444-700.
So we have one D-Star repeater in the area, or two. There was KOG, yeah.
One's on the Hyatt, or Hilton rather, and the other is on Standard Construction's house.
Okay. And then it's just one for DMR.
I've got
In
one.
Germantown, Germantown's
Yeah.
also.
Right. Okay, and Germantown's All-Star, so,
And Bob Gordon, the mega repeater, has a couple of repeaters on the air.
Not anymore.
okay.
Not anymore, none whatsoever?
He's relinquished 3.1 and gave the equipment to somebody else. And 4.1's been moved out to his house, I believe, somewhere near Arlington. Or maybe
He's on Collierville, Arlington
Yeah,
Road.
it's at Collierville, Arlington, so it's not a real big repeater anymore.
Yeah, I started to print out Joe's repeater list and put on here, but the print would have been so small we couldn't have read it. And to go through each every one that's on that list would be time consuming as well. Now, I know, where's everybody talk on these repeaters? What repeater would you say is the most used? I know I hear stuff in the mornings on the 8.5 repeater.
I hear the drive time stuff.
Yeah. So,
Hernando has 9.1.
okay.
The 444, 775 and 146.85 link system get a lot of drive traffic calls.
Okay, I know if I tune to 8.5 in the morning while I'm going to work, I usually can hear somebody on there.
220 is pretty active.
Sunday nights, you have.
You guys. It's like all the guys at this table plus me.
The 900 did. So, the Super 900 did. So one of these days I may have to get a 900 rig just to see what that's all about.
You hit with an HT from Bartlett.
Probably could.
I do. It's 300 foot.
So, all right. Does anybody have anything else they wish to add or talk about when it comes to our repeaters?
Toka has got a 145-49 repeater on the air.
Okay.
And they've got a 440 repeater that's on Munford, or getting it on Munford now. West Memphis has the 147-15 repeater is in Crawfordsville on N5 ALN's tower. And
Alan,
I don't know what Alan's last name is.
I can't think of it,
But
I've talked to
and
them on the air
then,
before.
their 440 repeater is on West Memphis Ice Company building's tower. So they
they have that, but there is also a link of, it's called the Magnolia link. It is a link on the fourth Tuesday of the month at 7 o'clock. They link Atoka, West Memphis, Olive Branch, and Helena through Wires X and have a net.
Yeah, that's always usually the same time as our Aries
Aries
meetings.
meeting.
We actually checked into that one time during one of our meetings.
I have a question. Did
Sure.
I read in the Sparks about the talk of purchasing a DMR repeater? Did I read?
We had talked about that, but because of the other issues that we've been having, we want to make sure all the other repeaters are functioning
Okay.
properly before we.
Thank you for spending the money to fix the 8.2 and going up higher, because I hope that we never need it, but I hope that it's there when we need it.
Right.
Well, I want to put something on this. Working on repeaters is mostly a thankless job, so Barry, thank you for dealing with this.
Amen. And Rick,
Yeah, sometimes, I mean, thank you, it is awesome that you do that. I got into building repeaters just for fun, just to show, just to learn how it's done. And I've been messing with a lot of digital stuff and learning a lot of things. But, I helped put the repeater up in Blytheville, Arkansas. And what we did is I worked for Nucor Steel, and we got them to pay for the whole thing. So it was like, hey, $30,000, great. Good job. I don't think it was $30K, but anyway, it was a few thousand. But we put up a brand new Motorola repeater and the whole 9 yards. But I think one of the things that I figured out about the DMR stuff, and I'm not playing favorites, I've got pretty much all of the stuff, except for, I haven't really messed with Fusion yet, but I'm radio core, so there you go. But the thing is, you kind of get 2 repeaters out of one, which is pretty sweet, because if you figure, okay, you can use one of your time slots, it's like having another channel on the same repeater. So the W4LET repeater is where pretty much everybody goes to do all the weather stuff. And that was one of the things that I said to the board was like, hey, it kind of made me sad. I mean, I'm a little nostalgic here, so forgive me for a second, but like, hey, I remember the days when 146.82 is exactly what everybody turned on. Like, you didn't need to think about, even for a second, where you were going to go during a weather net. And now it's like kind of in this state of like, well, I don't know. Like, I could go there, but I mean, I don't really know. And I think to add to the confusion, you've got all these like linked repeaters around that are really hard to get into. They don't sound good. I mean, it's kind of chaotic.
Yeah, because they link to the 625 and the 14545 and Echolink. They're trying to.
Well, there's not a cohesive plan, right? But my thing that I said to the board was like, hey, the Delta Club's always been at the forefront of that kind of stuff. And so I don't have all the answers. I don't know if I have really any of the answers other than, hey, I've played with some stuff and I come to the table with some ideas, but I mean, it's gonna take a whole club getting behind whatever it is that we're gonna do, because this club has the leadership that the community looks to for that kind of stuff. I know there's other clubs out there and there's a lot of great people and they're kind of doing different things. But like this club, as far as I remember, back in the early 90s was always like a club that did the big weather nets and did consistently did the net every night. And that's leadership by example. And I don't see anybody else doing that. So if anybody's gonna do it, it's up to this club, in my view. It's up to this club. We'll have to talk, to each other. It's not probably gonna be an answer tonight, but I mean, there are ways out there. And I don't think that, necessarily digital is like just the only answer, but I think it can be used as a good tool to help some things.
Yeah, the main reason the National Weather Service does DMR is because they can reach all 55 counties in their forecast area.
Right, and so the discussion.
If the internet's up.
If the internet.
Well, okay, but yes, that's a design thing. That can be designed around, if we get enough people involved, you can do an RF backbone.
Mitchell?
I got a question about the weather. I turned my amateur radio over to weather the other night when my house was trying to blow away, and he was talking about the terrible heat we were going through.
Yeah.
And I said, the wind's howling outside my house. My whole house is shaking. I had to get my wife out of the sunroom. I said, it's gonna blow away. And you turn on national weather, and it is so hot today, you need to hydrate, you need to do this. And they had a bunch of recording going.
Right,
It's not very helpful.
right, okay.
John, who called the National Weather Service on the first?
I don't think it got called. That's one of the problems that we have with the National Weather Service. We have a liaison team, and it's hard to get people to consistently call that net on the first. That's one of my issues, so.
Maybe that's something we need to look into trying to figure out. I mean, I don't
Right.
know if we can answer that as a club, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know, because that's kind of a separate team. But I can certainly, and I'm kind of fairly the new guy on that team, for lack of a better explanation. But I know the other two that are the elder statesmen of that group. So maybe I could twist their arm a little bit.
The thing that gets me every time that I hear these nets is, and it breaks my heart, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to be a completely judgmental jerk about this, but like when I listen to the nets, and I hear a lot of people, that's why I said on the other night on the net, hey, maybe we need to do a project to help people get like an SO239 connector antenna up in their attic or outside. But a lot of people can't even hit the repeater on analog. And it's like, well, a lot of the problems that you have with a classic analog repeater kind of go away when you get digital, for the most part. It's not perfect, but you do get a lot better coverage in most cases. So, I mean, it can help some things. I mean, I don't know, you talk to, I don't know, put you on the spot, Pat, but I mean, you were there at K&O when you guys went digital, weren't you?
Yeah.
Why would a commercial station, I mean, there was a mandate, but why would a commercial station go with digital?
Well, like I said, there was a mandate.
Yeah, but there's other pros behind doing that too, I suppose, right?
Yeah, the quality's a lot better, and we've got, different program streams.
Yeah, well, and you know, right now, just to counter what we're talking about here, you know, Congress is debating on what to do with AM. They're considering getting rid of that band, and of course the broadcasters are a little bit up in arms because the whole rest of the world, guess what they did? They went digital. Right, we didn't do that because we're just, you know, we're slower adopted to newer things, I guess. And that's not necessarily bad. I'm not trying to poke fun of that, but I'm just pointing out that everybody is going digital in some way or another. It doesn't mean that's the answer for everything.
And if your radio's digital, it doesn't necessarily, you don't have to use a repeater.
Correct.
You can do peer-to-peer digital, and you can do hotspots and other things. But all right, anything else, Joe?
Simplex.
Yep. Simplex.
Get your antennas up in the air and do some simplex.
I agree.
They don't even have to be that high in the air.
You know, when the earthquake hits, you know, that's probably what's going to be working is simplex and not a lot of the repeaters.
So,
And something to keep in mind too, every time we have a nightly information net, in the preamble, we always mention that this is, you know, the nightly information net, it's there to share information, but it's also there so that way you can work on your radio or antenna and test it out. And so, you know, I know when we've got such a phenomenal repeater with the 8.2 that it's working and it's doing everything it's supposed to do, like worse quality stuff sounds better. But, you know, that is something, and I say that because I've had plenty of noise on my transmissions with my stuff, you know. But if you're having troubles right now too, you know, this is a great time before we switch back to the better repeater when it does start working again. You know, if you're having troubles, this is a great time to kind of, you know, get somebody to come over and help you diagnose your setup, you know. is there a small tweak where you could maybe adjust your antenna and all of a sudden everything sounds good, or, you know, you may be a little too far away, without having to purchase new equipment. So that is something to think about, you know, the simplex setup, and then just in general, is there anything that you can improve upon? Or it might, you know, depending, if you've got a situation set up like mine, it's very simple, like, maybe it's just time to start saying, hey, I need to set aside $50 a month or something to be able to eventually, maybe next year's Hamfest, go and get a new radio or antenna or something. So
Well,
that's something to keep in mind.
To your point, you know, that is some people's reservation to get the digital stuff. It's like, hey, I don't want to go spend a couple $100s for a radio, or it's too complicated to do it. Which there is a little bit of a complexity.
There's a learning curve to it.
Right? But like, I've got the $14, you know, DMR radio, right? So like, if you can't afford $14 and like, you know, let's go buy a Coke over here at, you know, Marco's Pizza in Bartlett and talk about ham radio for half an hour, and I'll show you how to program one. You know, like, or just get an analog radio and do simplex. I don't care, but I mean, you know, these things are available, and you can do it cheaply. It
Yeah.
doesn't, you know.
The other thing I was going to bring up, kind of piggyback off Mary Jean, is use your backup radios. If you have more than one radio, get that backup radio out and use it some, so that you know it works in a crunch. Nothing worse than picking up a radio that you think is going to work, and you know, it's not, because you hadn't used it in 3 years or whatever. So.
And I can't stress this enough to, you know, come here to the meetings or email or call somebody in the club and ask for help. So if you're not really happy, or even if you get through pretty well, but you feel like there's just a little bit of a room for improvement, you know, ask for help. And I guarantee you that we can find somebody in this club who is incredibly knowledgeable and who can help you make those adjustments.
Do you have a question?
Sure.
Would it be feasible, because I don't know, maybe it would just make the length of the net too long, but would it be a bad idea to add into the preamble, not the preamble, but the text of the net, just to give the signal report back, you know? Because I hear a lot of people.
The signal report's going to be,
I mean, I hear
from the net control station, is going to be full.
Well, I hear a lot of people saying, oh yeah, you're sounding good, but really no, they were actually pretty, like a hell of a lot of static, you know?
Okay. I see what you mean. From a clarity standpoint.
Right, because nobody wants to be the guy going, well, your radio sounds horrible. Like, I get it. Nobody wants to be the one saying that, right? But like, it's tough love, right? Like,
Well, there's a way to politely do that. I know when I call nets, I'll tell people, look, I'm really having a hard time hearing you. There's a lot of noise. Can you try again, or move to a different location and try again? So and I think most of us are that way, that are net control stations, that we will provide that feedback if we're having a hard time hearing somebody. Now, if we're not hearing, or if we're not having a hard time, then we generally don't say anything. So, I believe you had a question or comment?
I was just gonna say, I mean, would it make sense to have sort of like a sheet over there of, hey, I want to talk to somebody about this during the break time of the meeting or whatever. I've got this problem. I want to like antennas for me particularly. Like I don't have an HF antenna up anywhere. I'll talk to somebody about that. Sort of like an Elmer type discussion with people that know how to do this stuff. But like I'm pretty new. I don't know how to do all of it. But in our meeting, in the break time maybe, or even maybe the meeting doesn't start till 7, but like I was here at 6 or whatever, people that want to come early to the next.
It's kind of like Ham 101.
Well, something like that to get the newer folks in that are only a year or two into this, to kind of help grow my skills for me in particular, right? I don't get on enough really. That's partly my problem, but I need help with antennas and whatever else, that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
I think that's a great idea.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
And I sign in and I go, oh, well, this week I'd like to talk to somebody about this, and y'all could look at the list and say, oh, I can talk to them about that. I know that. I know how to do that.
Yeah, that's a great idea. We used to, pre-COVID, had a thing called Ham 101.
Okay.
And it was at, 5:30 or 6? 5:30. Yeah. 5:30. And Ham Hilliard, he would publish what topic, and basically people would submit ideas to him of what they wanted to learn. And it was like a little hour and a half class. I remember him doing one on vertical antennas. It was thorough. And he, you know, when you got done, you had a pretty good understanding of what you needed to do if you wanted to do a vertical antenna. Or, you know, and it would be different topics, you know, each month. So maybe we could, and I think, I don't want to put him on the spot without him being here, but I think the only reason we didn't really start that back is we didn't have a list of ideas or topics.
He begged
So,
people for talk.
yeah.
And got nothing there for a while.
And anybody knows him, he likes to talk. And he is a very, very knowledgeable. I mean, you will learn a ton. So, all right, good stuff.
And I do wanna say, so like part of kind of why we're having this repeater discussion, obviously we needed to get a catch up on it anyway, but you know, there's a lot that's happened this summer with MLG&W, with the power outages, and then the power outages again, and then again, and then again, you know, and so everybody keeps talking about different things, and like there's other, you know, things like financially that where folks have put off, and then all of a sudden you've got this big massive problem. So like, you know, we want to make sure that you guys feel like that if you have any suggestions, you can bring them. And there may be a reason why we don't do something, if we don't have a setup or whatnot. And, you know, it may be something where we don't need to worry about something quite yet, or if there's something that we need to look ahead and say, hey, we need to make improvements, not necessarily for even the repeaters, but just in anything in general. If we need to change, like even something as simple as saying that, like, hey, can we have a sign-up sheet to you know, write down help topics or something. You know, anything like that, I just want to encourage you guys, don't hesitate to bring it to us, because, I mean, if we don't, you know, ham radio is ever changing, it feels like, and there's everything that with digital over here and analog and whatnot, but if we don't sit here and try to kind of, I guess, stay ahead of the curve, then we don't want to be playing catch up later on. And like you brought up, like, I mean, we are the largest group in the Mid-South, at least in, you know, Tennessee, Arkansas, Mississippi, I think Alabama, and probably the other, you know, several other states as well. And I know it, you know, doesn't seem like we have a whole lot here, but I mean, we still, as the largest group in the Mid-South, I mean, you know, we are in a position to do more and help show the community why ham radio is important. So.
Yeah, but that takes a whole club effort.
Yeah.
Right? Like the problem with a lot of these clubs is they go put up one repeater, it's like, done, next, and then it's like, but then nobody talks on it. It's like, what was the point? Like, try getting something coordinated.
Right.
It's very difficult right now to get Sarah to even respond. It's almost ridiculous.
Right. All right. Well, that's all I have. Mary Jean, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you. Thank you guys for your input tonight, and again, thank you to Barry and all the Ricks and anybody else who have helped out with that, because I know it takes a lot of work, and with that, they're typically very expensive fixes. And then we also have a lot of people like Joe who work, Joe and Steve and Scott and anybody else who work to sell like the consignment items and things like that to help raise the money for us to work on these repeaters. So, you know, there is a lot of club effort here to do everything that needs to be done in their respective areas to keep up the repeaters. And like you said, we have a nightly information net. I know the attendance on those have dropped just a hair while we're on the 443-700. And I know for those of you who have been a ham for a while and your setup maybe almost perfect and everything, but it is important for us, even if we don't have news, to try to continue to check in on that, because we are getting a lot of new hams interested, whether they're joining Delta Club or Mara or Neshoba. There's a lot of new hams in this area. There's a lot of hams who have been hams for a while who are finally saying, hey, with everything going back on, I need to go dust off that radio and go find what's going on. And so it definitely helps if you can take the time to check in even if it's not every night, even if it's just, every Tuesday night or, except for, the meeting time, or something like that, it helps because that is an outlet where when things go wrong, everybody checks in, with the storms and whatnot, and so why can't, it's important to make sure even when things are going right, we need to check in, so that way our new hands have a place where they can work on equipment and all that. So I want to encourage you to make sure you're taking the time to check in on that nightly information net or any other net, for that matter.
Speaking earlier of the equipment that, for sale, could they put a list out every once in a while, once a month or once every quarter or something? I mean, somebody might want something and you might not have to haul it to Huntsville.
Yeah.
Put it in Sparks or
Try to,
Yeah, every now and then, I know we do, but I guess that's up to Joe with, I know it takes a lot of time to go through all that and whatnot, so.
I mean, it doesn't have to have prices and all that on it, just to know that you have something. And then somebody can contact you.
Okay. Good suggestion. Any other suggestions or anything?
I just want to make one last comment that, feel free to try to use the E2 meter. I would like some income.
Okay.
Good.
Feel free to use it. If it's down, then we probably got it down because we're moving it first.
All right.
Like tomorrow morning, it'll be off.
All right. Well, again, don't forget this hat and umbrella. If it's yours, please come get it. And please make sure that we clean up the area and leave it cleaner than when we found it, because we certainly appreciate them working with us and offering this space to use. And then I was the guilty one last time, but we do need to leave fairly promptly, so that way they can lock up not only this facility but the parking lot as well. So if we're all sitting around talking a little too long and we kind of come and tap you on the shoulder to slide out the door, we're just trying to
Randy
get
wants
them
to
out.
go home.
Yes. Short and sweet to the point. So if there's no objection, we are adjourned.